The other day I did a short video on this old stationary saw rig that I adapted to 3-point and tried to upload it to YouTube, and for whatever reason I could not get it to upload. So if I do get it to upload in the future, there'll probably be some redundancy. Hopefully it'll remain as factual between the two. But at any rate, essentially this is an old stationary saw rig that was meant to be driven into the ground with 4 pins in the corner of the bottom frame, that obvious A-frame there from the outside view. And then it was ran with a flat belt to either a stationary, typically a one-lunger engine, a make and break or whatever, or possibly a power takeoff pulley on the side of a tractor running at 540 RPM with whatever size pulley it had on it. But at any rate, I decided to convert it into a 3-point. So took some scrap iron and kind of fabricated this 3-point hitch for it. Put regular category 1 pins on it, and the dimensions are close enough to where it will fit just about any category 1 tractor, meaning 8 ends, 9 ends, all the smaller utility tractors up to 35, 40, 50 horse in some cases. But at any rate, in doing so, in converting it to 3-point, it was no longer able to be driven from the side pulley because it needed to be driven off the power takeoff shaft on the back of a tractor. So I came up with this right angle drive gearbox off of the John Deere Haybine. And if I had to guess, I would say late 50s, early 60s at the very, very newest. But at any rate, it's a 1 to about a 1.1 ratio. So running 540 on the input, it's running 540 plus about 54, on the output. So my arbor is, roughly 600 RPM. And then you could figure the foot per minute on the teeth on the blade, based off of those calculations. It'd be pretty simple to do. But at any rate, in doing this, I went ahead and mounted a pillow block bearing here on the side, to support this output shaft of the 3-point. And then not having another 8-inch flat belt pulley, I did have a couple of 8-inch dual sheave pulleys off of some air conditioners or air handlers. So I just put those on there to see if there was enough friction with the belts running on the outside of those sheaves in order to make it work without slippage. And guess what? It works just absolutely fine. Back to my adaptation in here. If you look, there's slots cut into it right there on all 4 edges, and you've got 3/4 inch all thread right there on all 4 corners. Loosening those lock nuts and loosening these mounting bolts right here allows you to raise up and down or shift back and forth, whatever you need to do to get fairly good belt alignment. I never really did do any more than fire it up. The alignment that it's got seemed to be just about fine. I've not had a problem with it at all. But at any rate, this thing originally could have had up to a 36-inch blade. You can see I've got obviously at least 2 more inches available, inside the shroud or the guard. This here happens to be a 32-inch blade. The teeth were in horrible shape, which required reshaping the teeth and gumming the wheel to get a deep I don't know what you want to call that, a gullet, I think is what Dad always called it. But I had to cut that in there and then reshape the teeth, and then take a couple of ball peen hammers and set the set, using one ball peen hammer as an anvil and the other hammer as essentially a hammer, just to tap a little bit of a set in there. I've got approximately 3/8 kerf that comes out of the wood whenever I saw. Seemed to do a fine job. There is a real neat way to shape those teeth. My dad showed me how to do it, my gosh, whenever I was a kid. And that's exactly what I did on this one here. I could draw it out and show you, and maybe I will sometime in the future if anybody really is interested. But at any rate, this particular one here, I run on this little bitty Kubota, 16 horse Kubota. It's a V7100. I run it in first speed power takeoff at 540 RPM, and like I said, that results in roughly a 600 RPM arbor speed. Does a really good job. I don't seem to have any troubles with it whatsoever. I just made a couple more videos today to try to upload those and see if I get them to take. The other ones I made the other day, I couldn't get them cotton pickers to take either. So I don't know what the heck I'm doing wrong. I'm gonna have to figure this out. Maybe somebody can help me. I got a GoPro, and then I've got some kind of a weird camera, and then of course an iPhone here. So I'm gonna give it the iPhone shot today. But at any rate, back to this tilt table. Tilt table is really cool. You want to limit its travel, and that's usually done by, I don't know if you can see that bolt over there. and you're going to limit it both directions. You put that little bushing on it, so when you pull it forward, it hits that bushing and bottoms out, you know, because you don't really want to ram into your arbor or anything whenever it's going around and around. And to limit it going backwards this way, that bolt will suffice. And then as a redundancy, we got a little bit of a chain there, so if the bolt snaps its head off or whatever, this thing doesn't come back, bark you in the crotch, heaven forbid, or possibly bark your shins or something like that. Now on the old one that I've got that we had out on the farm that I've been working with since I was 7 years old, the old man had taken compression springs and put a set of compression springs in down there at the bottom. And what those compression springs do is whenever you're sawing level or actually sawing going downhill to where the tilt top table doesn't want to come back, the compression springs actually kind of push it back for you. So it's a little harder to push into it because you have to compress the springs, but then it really helps you. Like I said, if you're sawing downhill, it helps you on the return stroke of the tilt table. But at any rate, those are just a few little tidbits. Hopefully I'll get this to upload, and hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed it. But anyway, here's my wood pile. I usually try to cut 3 years in advance. This one here is the center section, 13 cards in each of the 3 sections. That center section is this year's section. That there's next year, which will be 2000, I guess, and 18. And so I'm working on currently 2019 right now. Hopefully I'll get an opportunity to get that full. If you look behind me, I've got just a little bit of wood here that I've got to split and get tossed in there. Might do a little video on the old homemade wood splitter that we've been using for, I guess, 39 years. Don't have it sitting here right now, but I can show you that here one of these days. And here's just a little bit of the wood pile. The wife better get busy. She's got a lot of cutting to do to get this ready for me to split and get tossed in the woodshed. There's still a little bit of pole wood over here I got to get diced up here on the cutoff saw, or the buzz saw if you want to call it that. But at any rate, it's always something to do out here. Anyway guys, see y'all later.